Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars Legends lore video. Today we'll be talking about one of the wildest characters in Star Wars Legends, Joruus C'baoth and his mad clone, Joruus C'baoth. If this video interests you, I highly recommend you check out the Thrawn trilogy and the associated works. One of the ways you can do so is on Audible. Using my code, EckhartsLadder, or the link down below, you can get one book for free. I highly recommend the Thrawn trilogy because all three books are unabridged, they have excellent production, including full music and sound effects. Anyway, the fallen Jedi, Joruus C'baoth, will not be the main topic of today's video. He was bad, especially by Jedi standards, but he didn't come anywhere near a Palpatine level. However, in him, we see the seeds of the true insanity that would emerge when he was cloned and later partnered with Grand Admiral Thrawn. C'baoth was a Jedi Master, a self-proclaimed Jedi Master at that, rather than an appointed one, during the pre-Clone War era. Joruus developed the Outbound Flight project and was its main proponent. The Outbound Flight was a project meant to explore and perhaps even colonize extragalactic space, i.e. space outside of the Star Wars galaxy proper. The Outbound Flight was largely a Jedi project, and alongside C'baoth were 5 other Jedi Masters, many knights, and also children who would be trained during the expedition. And in Outbound Flight, even before things start to go wrong, we see the inherent madness of C'baoth. He believed that Jedi and Force sensitives were meant to dominate and control others, that they were essentially divine leaders. He controlled every aspect of the ship and even trained students against their parents' wishes. He was more than just arrogant. He truly believed that Jedi should dominate, obviously a very Sith-like trait. So it was no surprise that before his death, fully embraced the dark side and fell to evil. So we take a being who is already unhinged and we put them through the cloning process. As I explained in a prior video, Sparty clones, of which C'baoth was one, were very often insane due to the very quick rate of their maturity. C'baoth is probably the best example of this in existence. So C'baoth was cloned by Palpatine for unknown reasons, and at some point traveled to the planet Wayland, which was Palpatine's storehouse, killed the Dark Jedi who was guarding it, and basically set up camp in the mountain, declaring himself ruler of the entire planet. Joruus C'baoth, as the clone was known, magnified all negative aspects of Joruus C'baoth while maintaining none of the positive ones and picking up new attributes. For example, even more than the Emperor, C'baoth's goal above anything else was simply to dominate and to control. He wanted everybody personally to follow his will. Whereas Palpatine was content with managing star systems and the Empire, C'baoth wanted to control the lives of each individual below him. We'll get back to that in a second. So here's how it goes. Thrawn discovers C'baoth on Wayland. He enlists the Jedi Master to help him with his campaign against the New Republic, mostly through C'baoth's use of battle meditation, but as the campaign progresses, C'baoth becomes more and more unhinged, he stops listening to Thrawn, and becomes obsessed with capturing the Skywalker twins and the children of Princess Leia. His goal was to make a new order of Jedi, who would control the galaxy and lead it to what he called prosperity, but was more reasonably described as control. We see on several occasions what he does with the power he has available to him. On Wayland, for example, he dominated the aliens and forced them to live together just because he could. He did something similar on Jomark, basically going into town and forcing everyone to adhere to his justice. However, it wasn't until the much later campaign that we see C'baoth's true abilities and his true nature come to bear. Perhaps even more than Emperor Palpatine, C'baoth was an absolute master of fogging the brains of those around him. The first time Luke met C'baoth, for example, he didn't really notice all of the red flags that the Dark Jedi was waving, mostly because he was essentially in a trance. He breaks the will of other Force-sensitive beings, including Mara Jade, and does so with absolute ease. And throughout the entire Thrawn trilogy, he is unquestionably stronger than Luke or Mara. But it was more than just brain fog. He could enter your memory and essentially condition you to do something, as he did with Galad Pellaeon. He would say, "Put this order in for me, but forget you did so." and it would work even against the strong-willed. But that was only the tip of the iceberg, and as I mentioned, as Thrawn's campaign progressed, C'baoth became more violent and unhinged. His powers similarly grew, or he used them more aggressively at least. He would dominate the minds of entire starships in order to do his bidding. On one occasion, he basically stole a ship from the Empire by taking control of all aboard it. This is obviously not a pleasant thing for the subject, and results in, at the very least, a prolonged hospital stay, alongside, of course, real physical damage. But the part that makes C'baoth scary is that that's not what he wanted. He wanted even more control of a person's mind. He wanted to shape their entire being so that they would essentially become avatars of him and addicted to his presence. We see an example of this with General Corvell, an extremely loyal soldier of Thrawn, who, after spending a spaceship ride with C'baoth, was shaped, and when the two lost connection due to an Asalamiri bubble, which blocks the Force, it was so traumatic for Corvell that he actually died, with his brain just failing. That itself was an awakening for Joruus. I don't think he even recognized the depth of his power, and his plan was, with Luke and Mara at his side, to essentially control the entire galaxy in that way, starting with Thrawn's army of clones. Here's a quote from The Last Command. Unlike the Empire, C'baoth was not going to be content merely with the control of worlds and armies. His would be a more personal form of empire, minds reformed and rebuilt into his own conception of what a mind should be, which meant that Mara had been right on the other count too. C'baoth was thoroughly insane. It is not insanity to offer the richness of my glory to others, C'baoth murmured. It is a gift which many would die for. C'baoth probably wasn't as powerful as Palpatine, although Luke thought that he may have been close. He certainly didn't inflict as much damage across the galaxy. However, while Palpatine was wholly evil, there was also a method to his madness. He had goals and he did what he needed to achieve them. He was extremely terrible, but ultimately logical. The thing about C'baoth was that he was just simply insane. There were moments where he forgot who he was. Anger came and went from him in an unreasonable way. He sacrificed troops for no reason other than the fact that he saw them as his property. He killed others because he wanted to, and he felt the need to dominate on a personal level. He was a more direct and personal type of cruel, in a really unhinged way. Like he even admitted, it was more than just dominating and controlling a person that he wanted. He wanted to literally make them into his ideal being. Serving under C'baoth means that you have absolutely no autonomy. It means you will be forced to do his bidding, and you will be discarded later, and his bidding, more often than not, was pure and absolute insanity. If you don't believe me, just look to Mara Jade. Mara was the Emperor's hand. She executed Palpatine's will and was very, very close to him. However, not only was she so afraid of C'baoth that before their final confrontation with the man, she pleaded with Luke to kill her if it looked like she would fall under his influence, but she even went out of her way to save Leia, who she was not allied with or friends with in any sort of way, because she didn't, and I quote, want C'baoth to get his crazy grip on her children. The same is true for Thrawn and Pellaeon, the former of which certainly definitely had a lot of contact with the Emperor, but realized that C'baoth was just a complete different beast, not only uncontrollable, but also without order and purpose. Even with Palpatine at command, there is an argument that could be made in the galaxy at least why the Empire was better and why the order it produced was worth any sacrifice. With C'baoth, it's just simply not possible to say the same thing. And the life of a being in the galaxy under C'baoth's empire would be far worse. Anyway, that's all I had to say on this topic, but if you guys enjoyed a discussion about Thrawn content, make sure you check out Tapcaf Transmissions. So far, we've done a podcast on both Heir to the Empire and Dark Force Rising, Book 1 and 2 of the Thrawn trilogy, but we also have a discussion of The Last Command coming up in the next few weeks, which is Book 3. After that, you have lots to look forward to, including the Outbound flight and much more. There will be links to the podcast, of course, down in the description. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, have a great day, and may the Force be with you.